It is said that tears are so powerful, they soften our egos, opening up a portal to the unseen world. Through our watery eyes, our ancestors catch a glimpse of us, and we are reminded that we are held in their eternal embrace. It is often what is necessary to open a pathway to vulnerability and direct us into our hearts. Through our grief, we break down and allow ourselves to become undone. Death is understood as omnipresent and intrinsically linked to the cycle of birth. Our hero has touched the cusp of the underworld. He understands that eventually he will return to the land of the living. But now in darkness, in his womb of creation, he watches the chaos that unfolds around him. The kings who have broken their relationship with divinity, their dual nature which once held benevolence and strength, striving to uphold peace, now act from fear and scramble to uphold their image, leading from a need to control. Realizing his true nature, he can see himself in it all. Bound by the time of gestation, he understands its essence and its conundrum. The slow hand ticking away, time standing still. The losing of all sense of it when the dream keeps us enraptured and engaged. He's learning to see beyond it now as he attunes himself to mythic time, timeless time, a secondary time continuum that lies beyond his journey of day and night, beyond the village's schedules and earthly clocks. He ventures now into the non-linear realm. He accesses the wisdom of divine timing, not as an idea, but as a friend, a companion, a living thing that watches over us, telling us when to speak and when to act. No clock can guide him now. No truth can fall upon his ears. For in this partnership, the knowing, the patience, the precision all come from within. The light will shine at the end of the tunnel. Of this he is sure, but only when the moment of ripening arrives. For the kingdom, his kingdom, is no longer a place, but the entire spectrum of human experience. And undone, unbound, and born anew, he will take his throne with grace and humility, led by timeless time, divine time, as a channel for the heart.
Now is the time. This is the place. You are the one.
Hello, beautiful beings of light. Welcome to this special galactic energy report where I am diving into the energies surrounding the Solstice gateway, which is happening on the 21st of June. However, this energy cycle is already underway as the energy gateway actually opened this week with the super full moon in Sagittarius, which we experienced on either Monday or Tuesday, depending on where you are in the world, and is coming to its full expression with a grand alignment of planets happening on the 24th. So it's a very open and expansive energy lasting several weeks. I got a lot of downloads and visions this time. A lot of intuitive messages are coming through, which is very in line with where the collective spectrum has opened up by way of what's available to us on the cords and tethers on the bandwidth of energy. So with that, I am not going to recap this time as we have so much to cover. If you missed the last report and need to catch up with the overlapping energies, then please watch the eclipse episode as we are still working with these energies as well. And if you are new to tethering, first, welcome to the channel. I'm so excited to have new members of our collaborative unfolding, also known as Love Manifest, and the Terra group. So you can follow the journey through the unfolding of the hero's journey, and you are that hero, located on my main page. And if you go to that main page, you'll see different playlists devoted to different aspects of this ever unfolding rose. Just to give you a brief glance, tethering is the concept given to me by the Terra Group. The Terra Group is a fifth density social memory complex of human beings, of humans, who are holding the grid at a fifth density consciousness. They are the new Earth. And tethering essentially states that we are energetic beings creating a physical avatar through our energy centers or chakras. These energies exist on a spectrum, and although we each have our own specific energy blueprint, we can choose through our journey of expansion to transmute lower vibrating chords for higher chords or higher expressions of that energy blueprint. Each planet in our solar system is a consciousness of itself, which we are corded into. And the universal energies are stepping forward through the movement of the planets in relationship to the Earth to aid and assist us in our awakening. We have now moved into the fourth density abundance matrix as a collective, and these reports are to aid and assist you in working with the most powerful energies at any given time to cord into and create the highest harmonic expression of your individual toroidal field, and to give you insight as to why you may be seeing the events that you do in the collective mirror. So this is just glossing over these concepts at the highest level. If you would like to learn more about tethering, again, you can go to my main page and there is a playlist called Tethers of Reality Channeled Work, and move from the bottom upwards on that playlist. And that will give you, each video will kind of expand on the concepts and give you more and more detail as to what the entire process of tethering is and how it all works in a cohesive unfolding with your individual blueprint and with the solar system and the whole galaxy at large. So by request, I will be endeavoring to make a Tethering 2.0 in the near future to put all of these concepts into one cohesive space. So look out for that in the next few months. All right, so jumping right in, this is a fluid energy as the gap is now closing in on the convergence. And we have an overlay of energy gateways. Since the eclipse energy is still online, aiding in this deconstruction, the experiences, the challenges now are becoming much more tailored energetically to each of our specific missions and what energy signature we are trying to refine. So this is the first time in a while where grid keepers may be in very different fractaled aspects of the journey. What I'm going to focus on this time is the themes, the overarching themes that are coming in for the collective. This may resonate with you personally, or it may resonate with you as the observer, because some of us now are really breaking away from the collective energies as a whole. We are stepping into that total self energy. We still are on the same bandwidth, okay? It's just that some of us have already rooted in the higher aspects of the energy spectrum, whereas others are still working hard to hold it as their dominant resonant frequency. So right now, your life experiences may feel like utter chaos or organized chaos. Just to remember that we must descend into the darkness to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And for some, this may be a purely internal process. So, externally, you may not be seeing this, feeling this, but internally, it's being experienced as this internal chaos. On the other hand, those who've already established a firm rooting into the fourth density timeline, that have been working on shadow work and uncording from lower vibrational cords, for years even, you may be experiencing a time of peace and plenty, moments of enlightenment and bliss. So the energies overall I would say, regardless of where you fall on this spectrum of energy, are much more stable than April and May. And this is the solstice energy coming in to harmonize with the eclipse energy, which, if you remember, was very turbulent and consisted of a lot of residue. Ancestral karma coming up for healing and kind of like one last hurrah before it could be absorbed back into the self as a higher vibrating energy. So the image I'm getting with this is a storm coming in and dredging everything up from the bottom of the water. But on the surface, it is calm. So now some of you may be beginning to feel like you're finally free from things that have been plaguing you for years. You're riding high up on the calm of the wave. And others are still in the midst of this dredging process down in the more choppy waters or even deep below. As you heard from my introduction, the collective at large is in a space of grief and softening of the ego in order for them to see beyond linear time. So much is coming to light from a collective wounding standpoint, and this, as you know, is always a catalyst for awakening. If you do have unfinished business that needs to be brought into the light, you will see confrontations will be brought to a head on things that you've not tidied up. This is a time of a final test of sorts. As we are now in this gestational period, which we spoke about in the last report, this idea that we are taking this leap of faith and we have to pack light. We are in this womb of creation, and what is coming from the past is very limited. So only continuing themes that you're going to be taking with you and that we see playing out at this time will make that final cut. And the choice is really yours at this time as to what do you want to carry with you and what do you want to leave behind, because the energies are supporting leaving behind karmic, ancestral templating, old lack matrix paradigm that was experienced through the cycle of the age of Pisces, and now completing that, bringing that to a close, and really diving into a new experience known as the fourth density abundance matrix. For those of us who have already done this sifting and sorting process, we've already, gone through and decided, okay, this is what I'm leaving behind. I'm ready to let this go. I'm ready to forgive this. You're beginning to experience the fruit of that. You're going to feel freed up and unbound. But there is still a test here for you as well, because I got very clearly this energy of survivor's guilt. And survivor's guilt is a templated energy paradigm that I experienced very heavily in my own journey of awakening, and something that took me many years to work through. So if you're feeling, free and, unbound, and you're experiencing these moments of everything coming together, you're really starting to see in the material realm this abundance matrix take shape for you. The wobble, or the kind of thing to be aware of, is to not look back at the experience that you've had and be dragged back into that through a survivor's guilt mentality or even a victim mentality. To understand that you are the grid keeper, you are the way shower, and you are holding this higher dominant resonant frequency so that you can magnetize everyone else. And by turning and gazing towards, the experience that you've already made it through, and descending back down into that instead of holding space and drawing others up through the resonance of your frequency, you're really just kind of taking a detour, or it may take longer to work through these energies and cord into a higher dominant resonant frequency. Okay, so that's the advice there for some of you. Whether you are incubating this fresh new start, a whole new timeline, or a leveling up, or if you still have work to do, a recalibration of the current energies, this is not a failure by any means. So I don't want anyone to feel that way. I'm also really picking up on this sense of kind of feeling that we're failing in our missions and our journeys. And I've seen a lot of this in the group postings. That if something unwanted is happening, we are feeling like somehow we are failing in our manifestations. So the advice I was given with that is that you must understand that we are all on different parts of this journey. We all have specific blueprints and tethers that we came here to transcend, our own specific chords that we need to harmonize. And each of those specific chords makes up the whole of the symphony. So this journey is not about controlling every single aspect of your life to the point that anytime you're hit with a challenge, you feel like something has gone wrong. No, we are still in this density of duality. And now the duality is even more difficult to navigate because it's psychological. This is ultimately about self-mastery. Self-mastery, okay? It's about doing your best to be the architect of the plot of land you were handed, with the understanding that some of our houses are being built in the mountains, near the sea, on the Great Plains, and each of those locations is going to have a version of a home that is best for that space. It will have its own style, its own unique character, and all of them will have specific hurdles to clear, barriers and roadblocks in their construction. So you are not failing in your manifestations. You are simply being recalibrated to the best conditions for your specific architecture. So with all of this, we are seeing the themes and feelings of reorganization, tying up loose ends, getting your house in order, so to speak. And this may actually be your literal house in order. It may be purging things, organizing things. It may be, administrative work. It may be remodeling. It may be your outside lawn, or it may be more metaphorically speaking on your energetic blueprint, your state of being, your belief system. You may be feeling very optimistic, and at the same time, you may be feeling withdrawn. You may have trouble holding a new frequency. A lot is happening simultaneously. So let's try to understand why. Because ultimately, this organized chaos is bringing us to a state of alignment, which is capped off by a grand alignment of planets on the 24th of June. The main theme of this energy cycle is organized chaos magic. So we've all heard of chaos magic. The term chaos refers to what is undetermined, unmediated, the very root energy of potentials, which can be reached through altered states of consciousness. Emerging first in the 1970s London, drawing heavily on the occult beliefs of artist Austin Osman Spare and credited as formally created by magicians Peter Carroll and Ray Sherwin, chaos magic is all about embracing contradiction and paradox, not denying the material realm for the spiritual realm, but instead immersing oneself in it. Fundamentally, it's about stripping away the ornamental aspects of ritual and even belief for the practices that work and create results. Chaos magicians believe that our perceptions are conditioned by our beliefs, that we can change the world as we perceive it by deliberately changing those beliefs, and that is the essence of chaos magic. Sound familiar? It should. One of the exercises given by Carroll that I found interesting was to assign different worldviews to sides of a die, and then inhabiting a particular random paradigm for a set length of time. So like a week, a month, a year, depending on which number you rolled. So for example, 1 might be paganism, 2 might be atheism, etc. The primary goal of which is to thoroughly decondition the aspiring magician from the mesh of beliefs, attitudes, and fictions about the self, society, and the world that his or her ego associates with. So we can draw from this with the understanding that we are now going through metamorphosis as a collective into a deconditioned state, and at the same time making considerable progress on building a new one. Just like the tenant of chaos magic is to embrace contradiction, we too can embrace not only the dual nature of ourselves, not only the material and the etheric, the form and the formless, in a state of balance, but the ending and the further building simultaneously. We can embrace that simultaneously. The solstice is a contradiction. It's an end, the death into winter, and a birth of summer in the northern hemisphere, the longest day and the shortest. What is seemingly chaos is actually an ordered symphony of energy all working together to bring a new result that works. Known to us here on this channel as the fourth density abundance matrix, known to nature as the universal unfolding cycle of death and rebirth, completely organized in its chaos. A brand new paradigm that, just like chaos magic, will draw upon many ideologies and beliefs to construct its architecture, and at the same time being able to observe the obvious duality and paradox that exists within the collective at this time. We can embrace both the realm of the formless and the realm of material. For we came into this incarnation, this density, to do both. Just consider that for a moment. To incarnate, whose definition dates back to the 1300s, meaning embodiment of God in the person of Christ. From late Latin, it is the act of being made flesh, or from Old English as person or thing that is the embodiment. Because the ultimate paradox that I found is that the more I transcend form, the more I appreciate it, the more I revel in it, the beauty and miracle of the material realm, the more I am grateful for the form I am creating, the material reality that surrounds me. The more I become the observer, the more fully I am able to embody and embrace the physical, to look upon it with fresh eyes. It truly feels in moments like being born anew. We can drop beliefs, adopt new ones. We can embrace the material realm and at the same time work with the subtle energies of the etheric realm. We can bring that into a state of balance. It doesn't have to be an either-or situation. The transformation from caterpillar to butterfly may appear to the outside observer to be chaotic, but the butterfly has to be willing to utterly surrender his life as a caterpillar. He has to trust his guidance system. He has to decondition to such a degree that he is unrecognizable to his former self, trusting that the blueprint of his rebirth awaits in the subtle realms. This is very, very organized chaos indeed. The caterpillar is deconstructed at the very same time that the butterfly is being built. And this is exactly where the collective stands. And if you think about the tenets of chaos magic, although it might be built on the premise of reaching states of pure potential through what may seem to be random elements of shamanism, occult, religion, etc., it's really a way for the consciousness to make sense in an organized way, the distorted elements of any one particular blueprint, whether that be a belief system or a religion, and bring a sense of personal order to it by way of your own practice that works for you. And this is what we are doing at this time. We are making sense of what is right for us by learning to embody many different archetypal energies simultaneously as we step into the adept of the magical personality. All of these mix of energies are expanding our intuition, asking us to follow our guidance system, our discernment. Just because something is new or lacks clarity as to how it's going to take shape in the material realm doesn't mean that we should doubt ourselves. This is a time when we are integrating with the higher self, where we are unifying our minds and our hearts, and it's a brand new blueprint. So a lot of things are going to feel brand new. We are meant to begin seeing through the veil, feeling it out with a balanced head and heart, and seeing more clearly with the third eye. I was given the vision of a pot of water coming to a boil, and all of the water bouncing and bubbling around. This is a physical change in the water. The bonds between the molecules of water break, allowing them to change physically into a gas or water vapor. In order to convert a liquid to a gas via boiling, the liquid must be heated to the same temperature as the atmospheric pressure. So the heat energy is transferred to the molecules of water, which begin to move more quickly. Eventually, the water molecules have too much energy to stay a liquid. They must transform. They must become something new. In this case, gas. If you've ever watched a pot of boiling water, it looks chaotic. It looks crazy, turbulent. But the end result is a very structured, a very predictable birth into something completely new. And this is what is happening on our planet at this time. Our frequency, the frequency of our consciousness, is being elevated into the next density. We are courting ever higher into the abundance matrix. If we think of third density as the water and fourth density as the vapor, we are becoming as a collective the vapor. But in order for this to happen, we have to boil. We have to literally change from a liquid to a gas. In terms of the human avatar, from carbon to crystalline, or what some are calling diamondized. This is not going to happen overnight. This is going to take thousands of years. I don't care what anyone says. We are not shifting from third to fifth density overnight in the material realm. The Terra group has imparted that even this next phase into the fourth density abundance matrix is going to take 2 to 3 generations to fully establish. And the fifth density is no longer a material realm. It's purely energetic. Our consciousness is capable of fifth density right now. Okay, you can access fifth density consciousness. We are living on a fifth density planet. Okay, the fifth density is also very different from the fifth dimension, but our physical avatars are not there. We are still moving from the third to the fourth density in the collective consciousness. And with that, we are becoming one with our new atmosphere. We are moving into the vapor. We are balancing the etheric and the material realm. If you watch a pot of water coming to a boil, you will see that it always begins with a few of the bubbles first, climbing up the walls and releasing into vapor. And that is where most of us have been. We are the grid keepers, the architects. We started that transformation before others. That doesn't make us better. It just means that there has to be a first. And that was our specific mission. And now the whole pot is boiling. Like the whole damn pot is boiling. It looks like chaos, but it is in essence transformation, transmutation. And as we move into the next energy gateway, which began on the full moon and hits its peak during the solstice on the 21st, we can see that this transformation that began with eclipse season is coming to a head. It's being brought to a boil, to a tipping point, which is highlighted with the paradoxical nature of the solstice. But even that boiling point is organized because it's lending itself to a further balancing point, which is beautifully illustrated in the planetary alignment, the grand celestial alignment, which takes place on the 24th. All of the planets hit the alignment on the 24th. However, they are working their way there throughout the month of June. So this balance is happening. Whether we are experiencing this as chaos or not, we are moving into a state of alignment. This alignment happened in April, but it did not include Mercury. Now, if you remember back to the Rainbow Bridge Gateway that was happening at that time, the 2-2 to the 2-22 portal time frame, we were being flooded with the violet ray of transmutation, and Mercury was assisting us with that, as it is the messenger of the gods and the consciousness of the angelic realm. So it needed time to work with our blueprints and bring us in our communications and recalibration of our autonomic nervous system by way of download and liquid light, further crystallizing our grids. But now that we've done that and it's now moved back into its forward motion, it's making its appearance in this grand alignment, which only happens once every 18 years. The most remarkable thing about this alignment is that these 5 planets will appear in order in the sky, in the same order as their distance from the sun. So we have the consciousness of Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn all coming into this beautiful alignment, visible for us to see in its glory, a state of harmony and balance. So while this is in progression during the month of June, reaching its tipping point on the 21st with the solstice, we have the moon's energy working with us to release the past. So remember, the moon is the grid to the past, and we are ridding ourselves of the controlling overlay from the 8th sphere, the lack matrix, the inversion matrix, however you want to look at it. And we are aligning to the organic moon's matrix. We discussed in the last energy report that the Taurus-Scorpio axis is what we were working with on the eclipse energy. And now is a time when we get support through hitting the full moon energy, which is always a release, a climax of a cycle, that we are ridding ourselves of toxins and toxic elements in relationships. And this could look like, again, a very material way of ridding yourself of toxins in the body. So I have specifically been working on relieving myself of toxins in the body, and was able to get a far infrared sauna blanket, which is something that I've been drawn to for years. And there's many ways that we can detox and rid ourselves of toxins in the physical body. Or this may be a defragging or ridding yourself of toxic belief systems. It may be you're ridding yourselves of tears or like rips in your auric field. So there's many ways in which we are releasing these toxic elements. And these elements need to surface. We need to suck the poison from the wound if we want to move forward into this next level of consciousness. We must get comfortable with all the aspects of our total self. Okay, the total self, not just the physical self, and not just the spiritual self either. And by this I mean not only the feminine and masculine energy, okay, but the ego, the mind, the body, the etheric, the quantum aspects. We are being asked now to move into the total self. And we've been working on this process of moving into the observer, of coming out of the automaton, moving into what the Terra group calls reorientation into the loom. And with that reorientation, we are developing our relationship with faith. The Sagittarius full moon, the supermoon, strawberry moon, that came in is assisting us in seeing things from a higher perspective and understanding that there are multiple energies playing out at once. It's shifting us into our intuition and asking us to embody the adventurer, the explorer, the seeker. On the lower end of the bandwidth, we have heavy Mars and Aries energy that may be calling up old lessons. And I talked about that at the very beginning of this episode, that template of survivor's guilt, the template of victim mentality. Okay. So martyr also was another one that came up. So look to stay in observer mode and honor how you have changed. Impulsive actions are of the mind. Actions from a space of discernment are from the heart. So keep that in mind. On the supportive side, and this is a supportive side, we also have Saturn in retrograde. This is the taskmaster, the disciplinarian in our lives. However, in retrograde, this moves from an external energy placed upon us by our material world, matrix duties and responsibilities into an internal energy. Again, this is ordered chaos. So we are trying to get a hold of this new blueprint. We are taking action now on many facets of our lives. And we are trying to figure out how are we going to bring that all into a state of balance. Good ways of working with this energy are to make to-do lists, pros and cons list, writing out unsaid things to gain better clarity on how you feel about topics that you may have been struggling with since the eclipse energy gateway. Other things you may have already made decisions on are probably going to be coming up as well, and writing out the steps you need to take and make action, because you're seeing now how it can all come together, is another good way of working with the energy, like an action step list. And then you just take one small action per day. So like in my own personal world, I told you guys in the last episode, and I think even the one before that, for me personally, it's every single aspect of my material reality has been brought forth and needed to be brought into a state of balance. And even things that I thought I had been building foundations on are now being recalibrated again. So for me, I just had to divvy things up into different categories of my material realm and make an action step list for that, because if not, it was becoming too overwhelming. And then I personally like to just focus on one of those aspects per day. Other people like to hit every category, one little action step on every category per day. So it's all kind of like how, again, it works for you, drawing on that whole idea of chaos magic. It's like taking the things that work for you and developing that into your new blueprint. So Saturn is also representative of our third dimensional or material realm. So there may be things that now begin to manifest in the material realm for you. And we are finally starting to gain some balance between that material realm and that etheric realm. And then if we pan back even further, we can look at this in the context of moving from the age of Pisces energies, which were all about the outside in the third density, and bringing that to a state of closure. As they dissolve, the perceived karma, the old DNA, ancestral template fall away, it allows us to root more firmly into the fourth density, which is again moving from the outside in to the inside out. Whereas in the age of Pisces, that was in the reverse. And we knew this was what we were going to be working on this year, right? We knew this whole year was going to be about a state of balance. So if you remember back to the channeling about the daffodil and Narcissus, this is not about relying on the mirror of our reality to dictate our truth, to make our decisions. No, this is coming from an upgraded energy template. This is relying on the thoughts, ideas, and beliefs that I hold. This is knowing my mission, my purpose, and how I am going to make that manifest. Not as a mere cog in the wheel, not as the ego self, but from the higher self, the magical personality, the total self, the energy, the light that creates the human operating system, not as I, the physical being first, but as the animator, the source itself. It's breaking through that illusion. And this is basically where I am finding light workers kind of, I don't want to say like relapsing, but, kind of moving back into that template of separateness. And that is where the challenge is going to come, where this idea where I am separated from God and she is outside of me doing this to me. A lot of people are falling back into that victim consciousness. And if you think back to what I discussed in my last channeling, this is exactly where the narrator creators want you to be right now. Focusing on abuse, on toxic relationships, on injustice, on the idea that we are not sovereign beings. Because that is the belief that's needed in order to be in the controlling frequencies of the moon. So again, remember, the tethers of the moon are what ties us to the past. It's what stores our thoughts, ideas, and beliefs in the subconscious mind. And it exists on a spectrum. And we can chord higher. We can tap into the new expanded bandwidth, the organic moon that is available to us. And we don't have to buy into these energies any longer. The lack matrix is crumbling. Okay? And the age of Pisces is coming to a close. We are now in the age of Aquarius. We are now in the fourth density abundance matrix. But in order for us to do that, we need to be willing to let go of where the lack matrix is trying to lead us, which is into that state of separateness. Okay? And understand that they need your buy-in. It needs you to believe that you are powerless, that you are oppressed, that the world is unsafe, and so are you. If you have these outdated belief systems, if you have things that are no longer resonating, now is the time to shift out of that and make another choice. Ask yourself, what would I do if I believed I was supported, that the world was taking care of me? What choice would I make from the energy of the mother, the womb, from the higher self? Because again, if we call up that imagery of chaos and regeneration and metamorphosis, the child in the womb is utterly safe and content with all the needs met. But on the outside, the mother is going through this immense chaos in her hormones and her emotions, with the changes to her body, with the preparation that is taking place to bring a life into the material realm and to create the life in the womb. To the child, this would be chaos. But this is a complete organized chaos. And at the heart of it is peace, plenty, contentment, safety. And we can find that space within ourselves. This is why we are seeing a lot of marriages and divorces right now. It is the beginning of new contracts and the dissolving of old ones. We are seeing people retire, leave jobs, embarking on new career paths. The rest of the year, this trend is going to continue. There is also great healing happening in relationships. When we have been doing the work, we are being released from templating that has plagued us for lifetimes. There is so much ancestral healing that is happening right now. So, the best advice that I can give is unify the heart and the mind. Try to come into that space of the observer as often as possible. Embrace the etheric, embrace the spiritual, but at the same time, embrace the material. And find your own methods, your own ways of ritual, of organization, of recalibration, and get into this energy of blueprinting, because the energies are very supportive at this time. And most of all, be gentle on yourself. Be gentle. If you wobble, if you have a relapse, if there is confrontation that comes up, remember to take a moment, take a breath, and look at it from the higher self. Look at it from the heart. Put your hand on your heart. I do this. I just take a moment and put my hand on my heart and speak from that space. Because we do have this expanded bandwidth available to us at this time. We are capable of seeing in the material realm this abundance matrix. We are, simultaneously deconditioning and building a new frequency. It's exciting. At times it may feel chaotic, but it's all ultimately bringing us into a state of harmony, harmonic convergence, and a state of balance. So I really hope this helped you guys. I know it was a lot of information to cover all at one time, and it took me a while, as always, to integrate it and to bring it to you in a coherent way. So please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. I know many of you guys are not being notified. And I also have been working on the background on some really exciting, immersive elements to build community through Love Manifest. And I'm going to be making an announcement for that, because a lot of you guys have been asking me, how do you do this? How do you do that? How do I achieve this? How do I achieve that? And I've been looking for ways how we can all come together and support one another in courting into the highest and best frequency and build that frequency together. So make sure you hit the notification bell, because I'm going to be making an announcement here in the next few weeks that will include you. So I'm sending you all big, 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 big love. Bye.
Just wanted to say I love ya. Scully loves ya. Bye.